The workplace. It can be a place of learning, joy, and growth, and it can also be a place of frustration. And oh my gosh, today I'd like to talk about how to get along better with your colleagues. So join me on this journey. The workplace is such a diverse environment. You have people from all different walks of life coming together trying to achieve a common goal that is the goal of the organization. Don't be too alarmed that there are ups and downs, tips here and tips there. This is to be expected. What I'd like to do today, using my years of work experience, is tell you about 3 things that I have figured out helped me to get along better with my colleagues. And I hope those things are going to help you too. If you have more things to add, please use the comment box. Let's have a conversation. If they help you, if they resonate with you, if they make sense to you, kindly let me know. I'd always love to hear back from viewers. One thing I was quick to realize is that no matter how great of a person you think you are, when you get into the workplace where you have at least 10 colleagues, you are going to be tested. And that test is going to reveal your strengths and your weaknesses. Not to shame you in any way, just to kind of help you work on you and become a better person. So let's get straight into it. The first thing is to realize that everybody doesn't think like you. And as much as we'd like to think that our thought patterns and processes are the best and they are correct, when you get into a workplace that is so diverse, you have to put that aside and realize that everybody hasn't been exposed to what you've been exposed to. Everybody hasn't come from the same family. Everybody hasn't come from the same environment. Everybody hasn't come from the same culture. So there is absolutely no way everybody is going to think the way you think. And you have got to understand that, because it is going to help you avoid a lot of trouble. It's going to help you avoid picking sides. It's going to help you avoid getting into unnecessary arguments. And I call them unnecessary because they don't solve anything. Nobody changes their viewpoint. You just have people beefing each other and nothing is gained at the end. So they're unnecessary. Now you may be wondering, are there necessary arguments? I wouldn't say necessary arguments. I would say there are necessary discussions that must be had where your opinions will clash with someone else. But for the greater good, either a project you're working on or just learning how to get along with one another, you are going to have some difficult conversations, and I'll get to that later. So number 1 is awareness. You have got to be aware of the fact that everybody is not you. Everybody doesn't think like you, and you have to be okay with it. Rest. They don't think like me. They haven't been exposed to what I've been exposed to. So I can't expect them to behave the way I would behave if I were in that situation. And that's okay. First things first, be aware. The second thing is acceptance. You have got to accept what you find in the workplace. The workplace is not a place where you come to control the behavior of your colleagues. No, and sadly, it's also not the place where you come to change the mindset of your colleagues, at least not by force. Even if that is going to happen, it's going to happen through constant conversation with you, not like you being a dictator and telling them, don't think like that. So the second thing is you've got to accept what you're aware about. As much as you're aware about yourself, you also have to remember that they too have their own thought processes. They have their different opinions on things, and it might not match with yours. It doesn't mean yours is better. It doesn't mean theirs is worse. It just means that it's different. So study your colleagues. Find their strengths and leverage off of it. There's the colleague who likes to talk about problems. There's the colleague who has a great shoulder for you to lean on, who is an awesome listener. There's the colleague who's the go-getter, has no time for emotional feelings, just wants to get the job done. Study each and every one of them, especially those on your team, those that you work closely with each and every day. When you study them, you find their strengths, you see their strengths, leverage off of it. Don't waste too much time being so upset that the person who's a go-getter has little time for emotions. No, you're just giving yourself unnecessary stress and making your work environment a place you don't want to come to every day. That's who they are. Let them be. If an opportunity comes for you to voice that concern, then please, by all means, in a loving manner, do that. But do not keep hammering the person on the head thinking, oh, you're so unemotional. I can't even talk to you about my problems. The person is not wired like that. It's not that they hate you or that they don't want to listen to you. That's just not who they are. And you have to accept that. Stop fighting to change what you cannot change and work with what you can work with. Okay? Accepting who people are helps you to manage your expectations. And when you manage your expectations, you have less feelings of frustration and anxiety at having to go to work each day, at having to work with the people on your team. Sometimes it may make you look like the fool, in quotes, because sometimes this culture that says don't let things slide. How can you let them get away with that? But I'm here to tell you that sometimes, for the sake of your peace, your sanity, and your space, you are going to have to act a fool and let things slide. Opportunities always come up later when people are calm and when emotions aren't running high, when there's no tension to discuss what happened. That time it's happening is not always the time to discuss it. So number one, be aware. Number two, accept what you see. And the third point is assertiveness. So yes, you have to be aware that people are different. Yes, you have to accept that they are different, but you have to be assertive. You have to be able to empathize with people, recognize their struggle, but at the same time, if someone crosses the line, you should have a conversation with that person. Now, for me, this was difficult for me. This was something I had to learn because I'm not a confrontational person. In fact, I hate confrontations. I would love to just create a space where everybody's happy, and we're doing the work and everybody's fine. But I was quick to realize that that is a utopia and that doesn't always exist. Sometimes it will exist, but something is always going to come up to, like light a match and, hey, let me put some fire in you. So for me, that was something I struggled with, and that was something that I still have to, tell myself, Rosetta, you have to have this conversation. No matter how tough it is, you have to have it. So you have to be assertive because you're going to meet so many different people. People are going to cross the line with you. People are going to try you. People are going to push you. Now, I'm not saying go and fight them, get into the ring, gloves up and do your thing. No. Most of the time, I've realized that when you're having a confrontation with someone, nothing is being achieved because nobody is listening to anyone. You're yelling, she's yelling, or he's yelling. You're not talking because you have this stone face going on, like the person's talking, you're not really listening. You can hear, but you're not listening. So it's not making any impact, or vice versa. So I have realized that it is better for everybody to just walk away from the situation. When your tensions are down, your emotions are in better control, you can come back to the person quietly and have a conversation. Have a conversation. And when you're having a conversation, it is important that you do not drag all this unnecessary emotional mess into it. Clearly state what the person did or said that offended you. Clearly articulate why it made you feel that way, why you interpreted it that way, and then listen to what the person has to say. I've come to notice that sometimes we use our own internal lenses to analyze what somebody does. And in the times when we do that in a negative way, if we are patient enough to go back and have a conversation and listen to the other person's side of the story, we see that, oh, that's not what the person meant at all. So instead of carrying this grudge for days, weeks, months on end, I think you should just have a conversation about it with the person. Remember, when you're upset is not the time to be having a conversation. Wait until you calm down. Just be calming down first until you go for that conversation. And in those rare occasions where the person is just blatantly refusing to listen to you, blatantly refusing to have a conversation, and you feel that your workspace, your peace, and you're just being threatened by this behavior, then step it up to HR or step it up to the next chain of command, whatever that is in your organization. Because at the end of the day, we spend so much time in the workplace. I think it is so important that that environment is a healthy one and a positive one, and one that we generally look forward to. There's just too many people in this world hating their jobs and hating their colleagues. I have a simple philosophy. If you don't like your job, leave it. if you know you cannot leave it for whatever reason, financial reasons, responsibility reasons, or whatever, then make up your mind to make the best of what you have right now until you can get the job you want. It does not make sense to stay in a job and keep complaining and keep fighting with your colleagues every single day. You may think you're doing a good thing, but at the end of the day, that's your life. Those are your hours that you are spending in strife. And strife, a strifeful environment, is never healthy for anyone. I can tell you that right off the bat. So those are my 3 tips that I've come up with. I'm sure you all have different work experiences, and I know it's not always this easy, and it may sound like it's such an easy thing to do the way I'm talking about it, and I know that it's not, because life is just not easy. But these are 3 tips that will help if you keep them in mind as you relate with your colleagues every day. So tell me about your work experience. Tell me about your colleagues. What have you seen? What haven't you seen? How did you resolve issues? How did you get past issues? Type away in the comment box and let's have a conversation. Once again, thank you for listening and see you next time.